He ruled Europe but couldn't keep Haiti. Here's how Napoleon's dream died on Haitian soil. We often hear about Napoleon's victories, his conquest of Italy, his domination of Europe, his military brilliance. But what you're not told is that one of his greatest defeats didn't happen in Europe at all. It happened on a small Caribbean island called Domingue, and it wasn't an army of trained European soldiers who brought him down. It was farmers, former slaves, freedom fighters, black men and women who refused to kneel. This is the story of how Napoleon Bonaparte, Emperor of France and self-declared ruler of the modern world, lost everything trying to crush a revolution that would not die. In the late 1790s, Saint-Domingue was in chaos. The enslaved population had risen up. Plantations were burning, French colonists were fleeing, and leading the rebellion was a man who terrified Europe, Toussaint Louverture. Toussaint wasn't just winning battles, he was building a nation. He defeated the Spanish, he drove out the British, he took control of the entire colony, and then he did the unthinkable, he wrote a constitution. It declared slavery abolished forever, it gave equal rights to all races, and it made Toussaint governor for life. Napoleon saw it as a direct threat, not just to French rule, but to white rule. A black man running a former colony, writing laws, abolishing slavery. If Haiti succeeded, the entire foundation of the slave-based economy in the Americas could collapse. Other colonies might rebel, and enslaved people across the Caribbean would see that freedom wasn't just a dream, it was possible. So in 1801, Napoleon made his move. He sent his brother-in-law, General Charles Leclerc, with over 20,000 French troops, the largest expeditionary force France had ever deployed to the Americas. Napoleon's goal was simple: crush the revolution, re-enslave the population, and restore French control. But he underestimated the Haitian people. He thought he could land, negotiate, and win quickly. He thought Toussaint could be bribed or bullied. He thought the formerly enslaved would surrender when faced with real European power. He was wrong on every front. Toussaint knew France's promises couldn't be trusted. He had already seen slavery abolished once and then nearly reinstated, so he ordered a scorched earth defense. If the French wanted Saint-Domingue, they would have to burn with it. Cities were torched, forts abandoned, food supplies destroyed. Haitian fighters struck from the shadows, using guerrilla tactics the French had never seen. And then something else happened that Napoleon never planned for. Disease. The French troops began to fall not just in battle, but from yellow fever. They weren't used to the Caribbean climate. They had no immunity. Within months, thousands were dead. One French general wrote home, "It's not the rebels that are killing us, it's the mosquitoes." But even as his forces collapsed, Leclerc tried to play politics. He reached out to Toussaint, offering peace. And Toussaint, always the diplomat, agreed to step down if slavery was not restored. It was a fatal miscalculation. Leclerc arrested him under false pretenses. Toussaint was deported to France, imprisoned in a cold, isolated cell in the Alps. There he died in 1803. But removing Toussaint didn't kill the revolution. It made it stronger. His top generals, including Jean-Jacques and Henri Christophe, took command. And unlike Toussaint, they weren't interested in peace. They were out for blood and total independence. Dessalines, in particular, had no illusions about France's intentions. He knew Napoleon didn't just want the colony, he wanted slavery back. And so Dessalines waged total war. French forces continued to die on the battlefield, in the jungle, from disease. Their numbers dropped from over 20,000 to fewer than 3,000. Napoleon was losing not just soldiers, but money, time, and his reputation. He had planned to use Saint-Domingue as the center of a new American empire. With Haiti under control, he planned to move into Louisiana, expand French power across the continent. But without Saint-Domingue, the plan collapsed. In 1803, the same year Toussaint died, Napoleon sold the Louisiana Territory to the United States. 828,000 square miles of land for just $15 million. The U.S. doubled in size overnight, and Napoleon's dreams of empire in the Americas were over. Why? Because Haiti had won. The final blow came in November 1803 at the Battle of Vertières. French forces made one last stand, but they were defeated by Haitian troops led by Dessalines. It was the last major battle of the Revolution. On January 1st, 1804, Dessalines declared Haiti an independent nation, the first black republic in the world, the first country founded by formerly enslaved people who had risen up and taken their freedom by force. Napoleon never recovered from the loss, not just militarily but symbolically. He had conquered Europe but failed to conquer Haiti. His empire would go on to rise and fall, but the defeat in Saint-Domingue remained one of his greatest humiliations. And yet this story is barely mentioned in history books. Napoleon's wars in Europe are studied endlessly, but his brutal failure in the Caribbean is glossed over. Why? Because it's inconvenient. Because it shows that enslaved black people didn't just resist, they won. They out-strategized, outfought, and outlasted one of the greatest military powers in the world. France didn't lose to disease. It didn't lose because of a storm or bad luck. It lost because the Haitian people refused to be slaves again. It lost because they believed in something stronger than any army freedom. Napoleon called the Haitian uprising a disaster. He said, "My troops perished miserably. This colony is lost to France." And he was right. But for Haiti, it wasn't a disaster. It was destiny. If this story opened your eyes, hit that like button so more people hear what history tried to erase. Subscribe to the channel for more truth-telling, more untold stories, and more power in every episode. And drop a comment with the word Freedom Won to honor the fighters who made history on Haitian soil. Because this wasn't just Napoleon's biggest loss. It was one of the greatest victories for human liberation the world has ever seen. And tomorrow we pull the curtain back even further. In Day 5, we dive into a darker question. Why did France feel it had to kill Toussaint Louverture? Why wasn't exile enough? Why did they go out of their way to isolate and silence him? We're exposing the fear behind the execution and the legacy France tried to erase. Don't miss Day 5.